What is up, car addicts? In this video I'm going to be giving a guide for this week's HSW Time Trial for next-gen consoles only, also this week's normal time trial, and RC Bandito Time Trial, totaling over $450,000. Remember that the time trials can only be completed once during the event week period for the full payout, and keep in mind that rocket-powered / flying vehicles cannot be used for the time trial. So, starting off with the HSW Time Trial, which is Pacific Bluffs. Again, remember that you can only use an HSW upgraded vehicle for these time trials, and the best one is obviously the Hakuchu Drag with the HSW upgrade, which is ridiculously fast. Now, usually for these HSW time trials, I use the HSW test ride vehicle of the corresponding event week. So for this week, we have the HSW Arbiter GT as the HSW test ride vehicle for this week. Probably the worst HSW vehicle in terms of handling and driving feel, because just like the Tulip, it turns on its own based on the bumps in the road, making it extremely sketchy and difficult to drive. But of course, I love a challenge, so that's the one we're going to be using for this time trial. Now, in terms of route, the one the GPS shows is not the route you want to take, so make sure you follow the one I show in my run. And as usual, the part time for this time trial does change depending on what vehicle you're using, so keep that in mind. Moving on to the normal time trial this week, which is down Chiliad. This is by far the hardest time trial, at least in my opinion, so I recommend skipping this one for this week because it's just not worth the time and frustration. But if you still want to try it for whatever reason, I highly recommend using either the Batty 801, a BF400, a Manchez, or a Sanchez for this time trial. If you want to use a car, which I don't recommend doing, you can use either the Issy Sport, the Trophy Truck, or the Vagrant, all three of which can beat this time trial, but it is very difficult. You have a higher chance of completing it with a bike. Now, in terms of route, the majority of the time trial is shortcuts with jumps and areas you have to cut through with rocks and trees you have to avoid at the same time, so it's definitely very difficult. Now, the issue with this time trial is that when you crash or mess up, most of the time you'll just fly off the bike and possibly die, which will then not allow you to respawn, basically leaving you stranded on a mountainside. And what's even worse is that you cannot call personal vehicles on Mount Chiliad, not even the paths on Mount Chiliad either. So if you're in that situation, I recommend starting a race called Peak Performance. And when you get to the bicycle selection screen, just back out of the race. This will spawn you at the top of Mount Chiliad with your bike right next to the start point of a time trial. This makes this time trial a lot less stressful if you're trying to complete it as a challenge. Now, usually for these time trials, I challenge myself by picking either the Prize Right Challenge car or the Casino Podium car of the corresponding event week. And for this week, we have the FMJ as the Prize Right car and the RT3000 as the Casino Podium car. Neither of which have any chance of beating this time trial, so I use the Batty 801, which in my opinion is the best one to be able to complete this time trial. Moving on to this week's RC Bandito time trial, which is Power Station. As always, you need to own an RC Bandito in order to participate in these. As usual, these RC time trials are always tricky and require a lot of precise steering and throttle inputs. This one in particular has a lot of tight areas and high speed areas as well, so I recommend braking before most of those tighter sections, and for the main jump halfway through, make sure to let off the throttle so that it doesn't flip or go on two wheels. And that's it, guys. The HSW time trial is pretty easy if you use the route I show. The normal time trial, I definitely don't recommend doing this week because of the difficulty. The RC time trial is pretty tricky, but just take it slow, use your brakes a lot, and you should be fine. Again, remember guys, you can earn over $450,000 between the three this week, and setting yourself to go to beat them is always a lot of fun in my personal opinion. Let me know if you still went through with doing the down Chiliad time trial and what vehicle you used down below in the comments. I'd really like to know. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.